Hello there! I'm Squire Callahan Ridgeborn, almost a Battlemaster, always a wizard, and tonight I'm joined by my friend Dax Seedsong, a Paragon Bard from the Kingdom of Crystal Groves. Dax, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on.
I am very excited to be on. I love this show, and I'm very excited to talk to you about Bard and my favorite way to play Bard.
I'm super duper excited to get into that. Ever since we met and we started talking at Gen Con, I've been super hyped for this interview and just getting you in here so I can pick your brain about playing Battery Bard. Unfortunately, before we can get to the really fun part, I do have to ask you my introductory questions. I'm conducting a
Yeah.
survey here. How did you start in Amtgard?
I started in Amtgard when I was 16 years old. A friend of mine, he was really into it, and he was like, "Hey, you should come out sometime." I didn't really think it was going to be my thing. Then I went out and I had a blast, and I'm still in the game. And unfortunately, due to life stuff, he's currently inactive. But I've been playing. I took a 1 year hiatus
Mhm.
for like college and COVID, obviously, and stuff, and then I'm back now, and it's been a really I love Amtgard.
Amtgard is pretty awesome. What is
Yeah.
your favorite kind of battle game?
I really like large. So my favorite size of battle game is large. For whenever you have like sort of kingdom events or just kind of like 10v10, that is kind of where my favorite play area is. And then I really like multiple capture point objectives. So
Okay.
sort of like in sort of like multiple flags that have to be captured, and then you gather points over time. Those are sort of my favorites, and then I also really like smaller, sportier kinds. So if it's really like big and um, epic and advanced and things like that, I prefer them to be larger or really small 5v5, very sporty, very capture the flag, kill, like take an objective for a certain amount of time, that kind of thing. So usually it's either really big three objective games or very small mono objective games.
Okay. I think that both of those game formats can be a lot of fun, and I thoroughly enjoy them. I mean,
My
obviously,
favorite ones I for are the bigger ones.
the more people you put in a battle game, the more chaos, and I think the more fun it can be.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun interactions that can happen.
So why did you start playing Bard?
I started playing Bard because I first started playing Barbarian, and that seems to be a pattern I see a lot. You play Barbarian, and then you experience terror. You're not really used to being CC'd in specific ways. Then you hop over to Bard. If you have a martial brain, Bard is kind of the easiest one to grasp onto out of the magics,
Mhm.
just because of how much equipment you can buy. And unlike Druid, which is structured in a way that it also plays well with a martial brain. You don't have to know what enchantments do. You can just like, oh, these are my spells. One of them is the spell that was menacing me. Another one is a spell that does the same thing, but for less people, being terror and awe. And then you've got shove, and then you've got weapons, and then it kind of explodes from there. Dervish is also a really fun kind of taster for if you aren't used to playing with spells. Dervish gives you so much room to play with. It's so fun.
But what motivates you to still be playing Bard today?
I really like stepping on Bard because Bard, specifically, my favorite kind of Bard is Battery Bard.
Mhm.
I really like Battery Bard specifically because it brings a level of interaction that no other class kind of can. It brings an interesting level of support and an interesting level of communication display and how well you can communicate with your team. Like I said, I really like those larger battle games, and playing in those larger battle games, I really like Battery Bard. Specifically, what keeps drawing me back is that if you are a Battery Bard, you have a good like battery list that has your big three battery spells on them. You have access to probably every spell in the game. You just have to figure out how you're getting it and who you're getting it from. And that's
Okay.
that's what keeps drawing me back to Battery Bard and Bard in particular.
Okay. That is a really interesting take on Bard. I'm curious, what do you think makes Bard unique from all of the other casters?
So my it has a couple of things that make it pretty very unique.
Mhm.
Is that it primarily deals in two schools. Bard encourages you, just the way you end up having to build your spell list. It encourages you to be confronted with a problem that you have to figure out a problem. You have to figure out a solution without it being on your spell list, and I really like that. And I think that's really unique for Bard. For instance, like I mean, you can build hyper specific wizard lists or whatever, but like
Sure.
you can attack on a bunch of different fronts on a wizard list. You really only have three. One of them being between awe, terror, awe/lost, terror. and stun, you really only have 3 axes of being able to deal with stuff, and stun, you have a very limited amount of them,
Right.
and that's really interesting, and that's really I believe pretty unique for Bard.
Okay. What roles on the battlefield do you think Bard fits best into? Where should Bard be?
So Bard is a really good medium, like a medium class. It can either be really upfront and brawly, which is usually how I end up playing. I usually end up playing a brawly battery list. It can be really upfront and brawly. You have access to medium shields. You have access to, obviously you have a short sword. And then if you really want, you have access to armor. Due to Dervish existing, if you the second you put Dervish on your list and like you commit to not taking a lot of equipment, you perform incredibly as a backline aggressive protector, sort of. It forms.
Okay.
It's a really good protector in both roles because of how much CC it has. So as a protector in a backline, it allows you to make the to notice who is coming for your backline and be able to either CC them away or make sure that they can't actually successfully get off what they were trying to do.
All right. Yeah. I can see it. Okay.
Yeah, so I really like Bard. Either it's on kind of the two ends of the, well, it's one medium end of the extreme of being frontline brawly, sort of like midline brawly. It's pretty squishy,
Yeah.
and then way in the back.
So you're like the front of the midline all the way to fully support.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. Okay. Which Bard spell do you like the best?
Power. Empower is my favorite spell in the game. Just bar none, besides like maybe Brutal Strike.
Okay.
Empower is so interesting in the number of things that it can give you back,
Okay.
as well as just how many you get of it per point. If you have Dervish on your list and and you take a single point of Empower, that's 4, and it's not rechargeable or anything, but that's a lot of
That's 4 per lives per point. That
4. It's per refresh, per point. Yeah,
well, yes. You can recharge
yeah,
your per life ability with an empower,
yes.
and that's a per
Yeah, that's
refresh,
for anyone else's per lives per point of that you take.
which is honestly a really good any per yeah.
Which, just to give you kind of the level of some of the high end of these, high end spells that empower can be. Um, if you have an anti paladin on your team at all, let's say any point of empower you take is 4 terrors. If you have a druid, any point of empower is 4 icy blasts.
Yeah.
It can get really silly with the amount of things you can give back. Any if you have a guardian, if you have a guardian paladin and they get dispelled, their imbue shield is per life, and if you took 1 point of empower in Dervish, you have 4 more of them until they die.
Yeah, that's a lot of imbue shield that I don't want to
Yeah,
see.
a lot
Holy
of
cow.
imbue shield. Assassins are already before the newest playtest. Being able to give back so many of assassins like evasion abilities was really good. Now they can kind of get them back whenever. But with the way trickery works, things like that. So you having access to so much stuff, especially with the level of good per lives that the magic classes gets, it's so impressive how many things empower can be.
I had never thought of it that way.
Yeah,
Like,
it's also a huge morale booster. A lot of the time, if a druid comes up, it's like, I don't. A druid, they'll say that they want to, but they don't want to give you their heal. They want to wait for whatever they can like swift
yeah.
heal themselves. If they walk up to you, they heal you. It's just like sick. You get it back, and then they're beaming. You're good, and then you can go on their separate ways. And all it costed you was a quarter of a point.
Yeah. Well, and you can do isn't monks heal and res also per life?
Monks heal and res is per life. Paladins is per life, both their heal and their res. I have a document that has like everything that they can be. You can team up with an assassin friend.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an assassin and a wizard next to you, you have a wounding coup de grace combo just from that. And you don't even have to get them to do it at the same time. You can just say, "Hey, wound that guy," and then go wound that guy. Good job, confidence or empower, whatever that you want. And then walk over to the assassin. Like, here's an empower, kill that guy.
Yeah, that That is a nasty combo. If you've got those three classes standing together, you could do that a
Yep.
lot. Because that's a level two
Yeah.
spell is Empower. You could roll a lot of points into that and have a lot of
Yeah,
those.
you can put a lot in there. I do have a list that's called Terror Machine Gun, which is just, I mean, you could also do it with Icy Blast, but it is a little bit of an unethical list where you just take one buddy who is a druid, or one buddy, in the case of Icy Blast, a druid, or
Hmm.
one buddy who is an anti paladin, and then you just start shooting them out. You just get over.
Yeah, that
It
would
also
be.
gives back innate, which is pretty cool for healers specifically, just because they get innates per life. So if you really want to, if you don't have a confidence left, I have a couple of times like my confidences are gone. I need to be charging,
Hmm.
but I still need to like we just got a huge kill wave that came through, and our healer's gonna be overworked. I'll just walk through and say like, I empower thee, I empower thee, I empower thee, I empower thee. You just keep going until they get their innate.
Okay. So on the flip side of that coin, what do you think the worst bard spell is?
Battlefield triage. So we just talked a lot about how many classes get heal
Yeah.
and how many quarters of a point it takes for you to give back so many classes their heal back, specifically monk and paladin. And it's a per refresh at level 5. There's so much that you have to put on Battlefield Triage to be able to get 3 heals. It's kind of my least favorite. I have taken it before. I've definitely tried it for battery. It does work. It's not my favorite.
So when you're playing your battery bard lists, are you take what equipment are you taking? Are you buying the armor, the swords, shields? What are you doing with that?
So I have two. I have a mid laner one, or a midline one, which is where I'll take a shield, I'll take a sword, and then I basically just have the battery kit.
Hmm.
And then if it is just empower, it's just empower, it's just confident, and I don't take restoration very often, but it is like it's sometimes on there. Usually I take one or two.
Okay.
Um, and then like 1 or 2 points. Sometimes I won't take the risk with that list. But anyways, the mid laner one is mainly just so that I can grab a battle buddy and then keep them up while keeping my stick up. So I'm out here solving problems with sticks. They can solve problems with casting, and then I can make sure that they're never running out of whatever they're trying
Right. Okay.
to. The other way that I play Battery Bard is a backline, very fragile. I don't take any gear. Sometimes I'll take a dagger, but
Okay.
I won't take any gear other than my whole job is to be active listening to the entire field, listen for those things that I know I can give back and that I know are powerful,
Hmm.
and then before they can ask me for it, I'll go up and just tap them on the shoulder, say my little words, whether it's confidence or empower. Say my little words, they'll go, "What does that do?" And then I'll say, "The thing that you just used, you got it back. You're good." And then they go off on their merry way.
Okay. Yeah, because then I mean, if you're always in the back line, you don't need any equipment at that point.
Yeah, and you're always able to lost yourself in a worst case scenario. If I'm getting dove and I don't need my per lives back, I will just hit the lost on myself. Lost, I think, is a really powerful command
Yeah.
spell. Lots of classes are immune to command, but the ones that aren't are susceptible to wind sprints. When they start coming at you, and then you say go back to spawn, and then but you're not dead. You don't get a break. A
Right.
lot of the time, like if you imagine a warrior coming at you, you can lost. They're walking back, come back, lost. They're walking back, they come back. They're gonna get tired after a while.
This is just shove with more steps.
Yeah, it's shoved with more steps, and then obviously lost is just yeah, I'm in a pickle. I'm gonna lost myself. I almost never take Song of Visit because lost is so useful.
And you can swift that lost to because
As
you're.
long as you're targeting yourself, yeah.
Yeah, and Song of Visit's always been kind of a weird one for me, but that feels like a
It
really
creates
good use
fun
case.
like role players, which I think is cool. So I definitely think that the spell is warranted. But Lost is in a strictly utility sense. Lost is so useful to be able to just snap blink. You're going back. It's basically pass without trace.
Yeah. Okay. So you're never buying the armor, correct?
I will sometimes. I do think that armor battery bard is useful. It's just that a lot of the empower is per refresh, confidence is per refresh and chargeable.
Mm-hmm.
So spending so many points on armor means that you can run out of stuff before the end of a battle game when you buy the armor. So usually with armor, I think that's more towards the mid lane or mid line. I keep saying mid lane. midline caster kind of bard.
Okay. How big are arrows are as a general problem for you? Are you getting targeted with those a lot, or are they?
Me personally, it's a big problem. Just a gap in my play. A lot of the way that I personally experience a field is I will step out, look over the whole field, and then sort of assess what I can get. Sometimes I'll get kind of lost in the sauce with that, and I'll just get like chest with an arrow. So for me, sometimes I get too lost in the sauce of watching and trying to figure out where I'm gonna go next, and I get, ka-chunked. And we have a lot of really good archers in this kingdom. So for Bard, generally, Song of Deflection and having a shield is really useful. I probably should just keep my shield up a little bit more whenever I'm looking at the field.
Okay. So I do want to talk about the songs real quick because we are going to get into the battery portion a little bit more, but I want to get your battery opinion on the songs. So I'd like to roll through all of the songs and give you an opportunity to sound off on them. So first one is up is going to be Song of Determination.
So Determination is super cool across all of Bard, not even Battery. One of the coolest things about Determination is being immune to command means you are immune to being suppressed. So anyone who is trying to suppress you needs to do a little dance around your determination, which allows you to kind of dictate the flow of how that game of how that is going to go. Like if you have a battle buddy, you're walking up, and there is another bard who wants to suppress you because they don't want to get off. You can wait. You can just keep Song of Determination up. Now they have to make a decision on whether or not to cast on your friend, in which case you can drop and cast. You can drop your enchant. You can drop your song at any time and start casting on them. Or if they just hold it to waiting for your break in the armor. Break in the armor. Being when you stop casting Song of Determination, and it's really useful. A lot of the time, me and my belted sister who came up, we got our Paragon Bards at the same time. We would just never, anytime that I'm not casting a spell, I'm in Song of Determination. It's just so that I don't get suppressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that's become more relevant now that bards break cons per life?
Oh, absolutely. The Bard v Bard interplay is now so interesting. It's very, very showdowny. It's very like a Western showdown. If I'm gonna drop my determination, are you in determination? Are you gonna drop your determination first? And a lot of the time it just comes to blows, which I think is pretty funny. Where you have an interaction where the you are both playing magic classes, and the best way is just beat them.
I'm imagining now in my head, you got these two gunfighters. It's high noon. They're outside the saloon, and they're both just staring at each other, waiting to draw. And they shuffle step forward, and they shuffle, and finally they get close enough. They just pull knives and start shivving each other.
That's exactly what it feels like.
That's what's happening now in Bard Camp. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and Determination top tiered song for me.
Okay, that's a really different take. Like out here, I've heard from several bards in the Rising Winds that Determination is mostly useless because you could just be in interference instead.
Interference is good. It depends on what your like list kind of looks like. I think the best way that I could put it is it's kind of a difference between being like geared and ungeared. Because if you're ungeared and a bard, the thing you're most afraid of is being suppressed because you don't have anything to fall back on.
Right.
So you can just stay in I'm immune to command, I can't be suppressed. Now it mostly now all you have to worry about is somebody rushing.
Right.
And it's doing the same thing in interference does, where like sure with interference you can't be icy blast or whatever. But if you're playing that far back as a bard, if you don't have any gear or anything, you're probably playing within that 20-foot range, and you can backpedal out of casting range and reassess your plan.
Okay. So what do you think about Song of Battle then?
Song of Battle is very cool. I often personally won't take it. Sometimes I'll take it as a joke. I have taken it on battery bard lists where I have a dagger and that's it. Where I'll just start singing it just to back tap people, but that's it. Usually I find it pretty easy to forget, and also a lot of the time I'd rather just be in determination. So because most of the classes that I'm already thinking of the armored classes, Paladin is always really difficult for Bard to deal with. Barbarian can be terrored, anti-paladin can be terrored weirdly, and warrior doesn't matter. Obviously warriors are very good, but warrior is susceptible to every bit of CC you can throw at them because you're not throwing magic balls. Right. So a lot of the time the armor breaking doesn't really come into play in my experience unless you already have armor. If you're playing Brawly Bard, battle is probably pretty good for you. But if you're really good with a stick anyway, you can probably either armor weave or you're not. Like either armor weave like where your shots are gonna go, or you're not gonna, complain about hitting them a couple extra times.
Yeah. Okay. What about Song of Visit? We talked about it briefly a minute ago.
It's really cool for RP. It's really cool if you're being silly. If your goal is to strictly be very good, in my experience, Lost is just better. Being able to lost yourself back as a like Swift Lost or even Ambulant Lost are both really good. And Song of Visit is basically just doing the same thing. And that's kind of where I stand on it.
Okay. How do you feel about Song of Freedom?
So I think Freedom is really good when you have a shield. I think Freedom is especially good when you have a shield because you're not a barbarian, you're not immune to Ice Ball or any of the Entangle stuff, or most of the Subdual stuff. So if you have a big target that says, hey, hit me here, being able to Song of Freedom, and then now you're able to approach archers and anyone with magic balls a lot more freely, I think that it's very useful. But if you don't have a shield, a lot of the time, in my experience, I will just try and dodge out of the way. It doesn't work all the time, but I'd rather do that than spend a point on Song of Freedom if I don't have a shield. If I don't have a big target that says hit me, then I won't take it. But a lot of the time, if I have that big target, it increases your uptime by a lot.
Oh, let's see what's the next song. Song of Deflection.
I think Deflection's really good on battery, and Deflection's really good on battery, and it's pretty good again if you don't have a shield. If you're playing with small shield or no shield, Deflection is really useful. If you're playing battery, it means that you have a really cool interplay where if your confidences aren't charged, but somebody is charging, you can instead body block for them with Deflection so that they get through their charge, and then you can just drop it and start charging your confidences so it doesn't happen again. But it also provides you a cool thing to be able to do with your healers, where if your healer is trying to rush up and heal somebody on the front line and you need your per lives back, you can stand in front of them with Song of Deflection and sort of body block archers and the other archer classes from picking off whoever they're healing or your healer, because you can't do anything about healing. So a lot of the time, Bard, especially Battery Bard and No Gear Bard, is really good as kind of a town crier, where you're trying to direct where people are going on the battlefield and being able to provide that extra little effort of, hey healer, I'm gonna body block while you res this guy, is pretty useful.
Yeah, I can see that. All right. Well, what about Song of Power then?
Power's really good on caster. It has very niche tech now that there is the forced movement rule, where a lot of abilities have been labeled as forced movement, which don't work when you're stopped, and Song of Power stops you. So if you're really sick with it, you can swift Song of Power, or just I mean, you don't need to swift it, but you can very swiftly say the Song of Power in camp while somebody is trying to, I don't know, terror you.
Yeah.
Then you can just kind of dodge it because it just fizzles. The way that interaction works is that it doesn't go off. That you were not put under any forced movement while you were stopped.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really niche and extremely hard to do. So I really like it on battery because it kind of lets you battery without using your stuff. If you have like a couple of people who need to charge stuff, you can even, if you're being proactive about your battery Bard, you'd be like, hey, you haven't charged in a little bit. I'm gonna Song of Power, you charge right now, and then that's pretty easy.
Song of Power is my favorite Bard spell.
It's really good.
As a guy that buys a lot of shoves and dispel magics and woundings, yeah, it's a great thing to have nearby.
And if you want to just like splash a little bit of battery, if you have that extra point to spend, which can be difficult, but sometimes if you have that extra point to spend and you're going to be on the mid to front line, yeah, do it. Give your warrior their stuff back. Give your barbarian their rage back, whatever.
Yeah. Well, did I tell you about, so at our last big Kingdom event that we had during the summertime, I played a game as a barbarian, and I ended up using 15 rages. Because I kept going back to the bar, and I'm like, I need another Song of Power, and I'd charge times 15 to get them all back. And I'm like, all right, I'll be back in 5 minutes. And I think there was only 2 verbals that actually hit me that entire like 45-minute game, and it was awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome. Song of Power is strong.
Fantastic. Song of Power. If you're playing Bard, I don't care if you're not playing Battery. Take Song of Power,
Oh yeah.
just because
And
then, like, even if you don't know anything else, confidence, you have to
yeah,
spend points on. Song of Power, all it
yeah,
takes you is the amount of time it takes me to charge times 5, which is not very long.
yeah.
And it's a good feeling to run up and be like, I need the Song of Power. And towards the end of that game, the Bard I was working with is named Phineas, and Phineas is awesome. Should hopefully someday soon get their Paragon, because fantastic Bard.
Let's go Phineas.
I would run up and Phineas would see me coming and start the Song of Power before I got there. I was like, yes,
That's what I love to see.
this is truly the. And I'd plant there with my big shield, and I'd be like, all right, now I'm gonna block all of the arrows for you. Ice balls, those mean nothing to me. This is perfect. Okay, so I do want to ask about Heart of the Swarm. It's not a song, but it is a weird self enchantment, and I feel like it's an honorary Bard song.
Yeah, it is kind of an honorary Bard song. I think the only reason it's not called a song personally is because Druid also has it. Uh, Heart of the Swarm is pretty good. It's pretty cool. There's some pretty neat stuff you could do with it. I am not usually in games where Heart of the Swarm either makes that much of a difference or is very good. Just because of the size of our fields and the speed of our games. A
Mm-hmm.
lot in the kingdom that I'm in, the Kingdom of the Crystal Groves, a lot of our games are between 30 and 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just pretty hard to communicate that I'm an alternate respawn when I'm in Heart of the Swarm without getting rushed or anything like that. So it's cool. I think it's interesting. I think Bard is a cool way to use it because they're like, for instance, if you're right behind the front line, you
Mm-hmm.
can turn into a spawn point for people to be able to come out and just immediately join the front line, which is cool. It's just really hard to get that kind of communication on the field. But if you can pull it off, that's great.
I have only seen it really work once. Do you remember Brill, who's running the Gen Con demo for the
Yeah.
war side? So Brill showed up at, I don't remember what event it was, but at the event, and right before the game started, he like got everyone's attention. It's like, I'm going to be playing Heart of the Swarm and do nothing but be here. And Heart of the Swarm doesn't make you insubstantial. That's it.
No, it does not.
No, it just makes you stop. He somehow is also becoming insubstantial. And
You can layer stuff on top of it to make it like there is weird Heart of the Swarm tag. I don't know it by heart enough to be able to spout it off just off the dome.
Yeah.
But there is weird layering Heart of the Swarm stuff that you can do to make it so that you are invulnerable and an alternate respawn.
That's basically what he did. And he went, there were some barricades on the field, and he basically went right behind the first barricade. And so he was really only like 20 feet up.
Yeah.
But he was close enough to the front line. And the one thing I think a lot of people miss is if it counts as an alternate respawn, things like Banish and Lost send you to the Heart of the Swarm Bard. And so it cut, at minimum, it cut in half. And most of the time, it just cut those CC spells out of the game and made them so much less relevant. It was really interesting play that I haven't seen anybody else replicate. So I'm always curious to try to find them, because I think Heart of the Swarm.
I think it takes a very, very powerful bard to be able to make use of Song of the Swarm and make it really good. And I encourage other people to try and be that guy.
I think someone could probably make their bones doing this and get the Heart of the Swarm. Like, yes, I got my Paragon by standing still. That's the real flex, guys.
Positioning is a huge thing for me. I think Amp Guard becomes a lot easier once you get a really, really good grasp of battlefield, like individual placement positioning. And Heart of the Swarm is like the capstone ability of that, in my opinion. And I'm just not there yet.
Well, you also have light maneuverability. If you have to take it in chunks of 20 feet, but if you've got yourself a wizard, you can move that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can shove yourself in.
You can't shove yourself. Somebody else can shove you.
Because it
stops you and you have to maintain your chance. You have to maintain that.
I don't think you have to do a chance. The bearer is stopped. Any player on the bearer's team may use the bearer as their respawn point as per normal game rules. Players responding at the caster do so by announcing my life for the swarms on the bearer's team may treat the bearer as a base for purposes of effects which require a teammate to go to their base. Players cannot respawn at the bearer if there are living enemies or players within or objectives within 20 feet of the bearer. So I don't think there's any. No, you could shove yourself around the field.
Yeah, you can shove yourself around the field.
That's fun. Okay. You could play like a stationary battery bard at that point, and that
Kind of move around like a tank. You have tank controls for amp guard.
if you had a healer just walking around with you, that
Yeah,
you are a base. So they come to you, the
it's
healer
true.
summons the corpse, that's a per life. Resto the healer, or not, you don't resto, you empower the healer for a quarter of a point. The healer rests the dead player. You empower the dead player. And they
That's what I call a bastion of healing.
it's a bastion. Oh, and then you charge everything back up and do it again. Charge to full has been a boon that I don't think
It's
we've seen the full consequences of. If you could
it's
come
so
up with that.
wonderful. It's so great.
This is an interesting, weird little tech, and it is an enchantment. I mean, and you can buy any number
Yeah,
of them. But as an enchantment, if you've got a paladin running around and you're like, "Oh no, I died," they could greater res you, and then you can
yeah,
restore
bring it
the
back up.
greater res. This, yeah, I don't know. I want to try this now. This could last forever.
That sounds awesome.
What about Song of Survival?
I think Song of Survival is really good for frontlining,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty good for backlining. But I think you have a lot of when you're backlining, you have a lot more tools
Mm-hmm.
available to you. So I think it's better for frontlining, and I think it's very good. I think it's very cool.
I think it's a
I
very
have not
neat
made that
spell.
much use of it in my career, but I think it's a very strong, very cool spell.
All right, and now we're finally all the way up at what I call the Bard capstone, that Song of
Yeah,
Interference.
it really is the Bard capstone. Being able to it's the only song that you have to keep track of whether or not you have it or not. It's very strong. You are just now immune to whatever you want to be for as long as you want to keep talking. And
Yeah.
it's pretty good. It is it's really good for frontlining. Like I said with determination, the thing that you're most often concerned about is specifically break concentration because
Mm-hmm.
it's so fast. And
Right.
if they're trying to cast on you like icy blast or whatever, and you can probably get off a break concentration before they finish their icy blast. So being immune to everything isn't necessarily super useful. So I think when you're backlining, determination's a little bit better. But if you're frontlining or if you're anywhere in between, interference is amazing.
I find that Song Interference also is a really good chase spell.
Yeah,
Like, if you're going to chase down a caster and try to melee them, if you start singing Song of Interference, they're going to have a very hard time dealing with you.
yeah. I mean, it turns you into a monk. So
Yeah,
you are when you are now a monk, you are
with
now
a
a
medium
mage
shield.
caster. You're now a mage killer. Get your stick in there. Like,
Okay. So let's talk about the archetypes a little bit. Now that we've talked about all of the songs,
yeah.
I feel like the songs are really the thing that makes Bard. I think, but
Yeah, they're very cool. I do wish there was an archetype that was built around them, but at present there isn't one.
you're right. Like, I don't know how that would.
I've there's people in my kingdom have done it. My knight has done it, and then another one of the knights in the kingdom, Arden, has also done it.
Mm,
Where they kind of got together and designed one that was called Maestro. It was very cool. It basically allowed you to hot swap between your songs while moving and not having to say the full incantation. For instance, by if you're in Song of Determination, you want to swap to Freedom. It was called Key Change, so you would be Song of Freedom or Song of Determination, Key Change, Song of Freedom, Song of Freedom. So all you
mm.
needed to say was Key Change instead of the Song of Freedom incantation.
So my knee jerk reaction to
Yeah,
I want a Bard archetype that focuses on the songs. I'd call it like mashup or something. You can sing two
yeah,
songs at the same time.
yeah. DJ.
I feel like that just be it would definitely be broken, but I don't see how it could be overly broken
It's very cool.
because you
Adding Song
could
of Survival to any song is very cool.
like, oh yeah, you'd be like, I sing a song of my numerous close calls, Song of Survival. I sing of my legendary prowess, Song of Survival and Song of Battle, Song of Battle,
Yeah,
Song of Survival, and oh, I don't need the Song of Battle anymore, so I sing of my nimble acrobatics, Song of Deflection, Song of Survival, Song of Deflection, Song of Survival. Like, I don't know, that could be kind of a neat thing
that's
that
very cool.
probably
Sort of like
wouldn't be too
evolution.
broken.
Yeah,
Yeah, because then you could kind of like stack some stuff go. Like I could see Song of Freedom and Song of Determination. Like that'd be a fun stack you could do. Be
yeah.
like,
We have Song of Interference at home.
yeah, you get it. Maybe that's the downside is you lose Song of Interference. And
Yeah, it's a good spell.
it's a good spell, but I mean you have Song of Interference at home now.
Yeah, exactly.
That could be fun. I feel like a lot of the archetypes that we've got in the new version are misses for me because
Yeah,
I my philosophy around the archetypes is that an archetype should make you more of something that you already are at the expense of something that you could have been. So, like for wizard, the battle mage archetype I think is a great archetype. You become
Yeah,
better at verbals at the expense of everything else. Same
yeah,
thing with evoker. You become better at spell balls at the expense of everything else. You become more edgy at the expense of being an effective player.
yeah.
Sniper, you become more specialty arrow at the cost of time and normal arrows. So, like, we have a couple of these archetypes, like spy on assassin. You become more insubstantial at the cost of wearing physical armor. I don't love taking away physical armor. I'd have rather seen them lose, like, poison or something. But you should, like, be able to lean into something you're already doing and, like, be more of that thing at the cost of other parts of your kit.
Yeah, I love designing for Amp Guard. I have designed some of my own personal archetypes to share with my own circle. My personal, I mean, this is a little off topic, but my personal um, philosophy for it is that for the marshals,
Mm-hmm.
my philosophy for it was that it is good to get a archetype that is one gives you extreme efficiency and the other gives you a really splashy top end. Sort of giving you the choice between both. And then for the casters, I personally like it when they give you new building blocks and new restrictions to
Mm.
build around. Not too restrictive, but when they give you fun, interesting new restrictions on how you're going to play your kit or how you interact with the battlefield, that is extremely interesting.
Okay. Time for a quick hot take. Do you think casters should be allowed to buy more than one archetype?
As it stands now, my personal stance is that the way we have archetypes designed right now is a little antiquated. It very much feels like it was designed in like it in the not 2020s for the caster archetypes. And the way that they're designed, yes, you should be able to buy multiple. Ideally, I would love to see them redesigned so that you only have to buy one.
I really want to see archetypes move to look the part
That's
instead
interesting.
of
I
being a
like
level
that.
6 ability. Like, they obviously would need to be reworked quite a bit. But if you want to play wizard because you specifically want to be an evoker and you want to
Yeah,
play elemental barrage, I would rather see the evoker archetype say that elemental barrage becomes one per life.
yeah,
Like, you just get one per life, and then, like, okay, it's still a per refresh spell you could buy, but your look the part is now that, because then if you're playing a level 3 wizard and you're like, I really want to play evoker, you can do that at
yeah,
any level. Because, like, we're deeply off topic, but we're gonna go for it anyway. When
yeah. Go ahead.
when I started playing wizard, I was like, evoker looks so cool. I
It's
cannot
fun.
wait to play evoker. And then I spent a year getting all the way up to level 6, and I finally made it, and then I hated evoker. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of neat.
It's like,
I don't like icy blast as a spell, but
yeah,
it was like, okay, yeah, it's neat, but also now I have to go pick all these spell balls up.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, oh, now thankfully, Generalist Wizard and Battle Mage Wizard are still amazingly fun, and I love them to this day. And I'm
yeah,
trying to find an evoker list that really works for me. But really, like, that's a feels bad moment. I'm like, oh, I spent a year specking in because I wanted to play this archetype. Now I'm realizing I don't like this archetype. When I probably would
yeah,
have figured that out on my, like, third day of throwing 12 force bolts and then running around and picking them all up. Like, this is not saving that much time and certainly taking a lot of work. Maybe I want to spec into a slightly different skill tree on this. And so you
yeah.
can, and if you're, Avatar of Nature, is Avatar of Nature broken at level 1? No. What do you
No,
what are
yeah,
you realistically getting at level 1 to, like, yeah, by the time you hit 4, you're basically as powerful as a 6. That's a good
yeah,
thing. Like
yeah,
that, I don't think any of these archetypes are inherently broken. They might need minor mechanical tweaks to make them work at each level, if you're going to make them look the part. But I also think that that's a worthwhile effort. So,
yeah. I know what you mean. I cooked up a wizard archetype that was just very funny. oh, it was called Lich. It gave wizards unusable small shields, but you put them on the battlefield with an incantation, and they become your phylactery. And then somebody has to go up and ring the bell in order to actually kill you. But any other time, you're affected as per loss to your phylactery.
That's fantastic. I've been
I
flirting
think it's
with.
a cool quest ability. I'm not sure how you would integrate that into. You can spell shields, but you cannot wield.
You can't use like you can use it, but if anybody touches it, you're dead. Like, oh, like can I run pole arms with? Like, yeah, if it's incidental, shield contact. Like, but if they hit it,
If they hit it, you're done.
I love that as a relic idea.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd
I
be
think that is a really cool.
combat caster. What are your thoughts?
Comic Guys is great. Depending on your run this by your game runner. Anybody who listens to this, run this by your game runner. Sometimes game runners will allow you, if you need to put two hands on a weapon, or if you need to put two hands on something, you can take Combat Caster as a no equipment caster, so you can hold the thing, and which is cool.
I have tried this 3 times, and every time the game runner's been like,
yeah, a lot of the time they say no, but if you're at park level, sometimes they'll let it slide. Other than that, it's still really cool. I think the only problem I have with Combat Caster is sometimes it's a little too cool if Bard is your first class. Bard is your first magic class. Sometimes you hop over to the other ones and forget you don't have Combat Caster.
right.
And I see that all the time. But Combat Caster is super fun.
You're just like, hey, Druid over there, you in what hand are casting at me right now?
Yeah, exactly. And like, oh, I thought it was. I've been playing Bard for the last 2 weeks. It's stuck in my head.
Yeah, I think Combat Caster is really cool. It
Yeah.
it feels like a natural extension of Bard in a way that as the punchiest class.
Yeah.
And it should be the punchiest. I like it. Okay.
Yeah.
Dervish. Equipment costs are doubled. Each verbal gives double the uses.
I think Dervish is designed. I wish Dervish was never designed like that. I don't think Dervish is so fun now, and it gives you so much wiggle room to work with that I don't think it could ever change, even though I wish it did. It is the strongest out of any of the doubling spells, out of like Warder and Necromancer, and Warder, Necromancer, Summoner, and Dervish. Dervish is the strongest by far. You can still play Sword and Board with Dervish, you just don't get lost anymore. And like that's it. You just don't get access to your level 5 spell, and you have to roll down a point from 6.
Right.
So it's not awful. Dervish is so good. It's very fun. It leaves you a lot of wiggle room. But unfortunately for me, I can never truly wish Dervish out of the game because it's the thing that lets Battery Bard be so unique. Specifically in the fact that it gives you 4 empowers per point.
Do you think Dervish needs a nerf, or do you think it's just fine?
I would prefer if Dervish had a nerf. I kind of think all with the martial archetypes, the gap has been shortened by quite a bit between the martials and the magics. But I think all the magic should kind of come down a little bit.
Would you think, like, if Dervish was like, you can't buy any equipment, double your verbals? Do you think
I think that's very cool.
Fair?
I think that's a very cool way to make it extremely linear. I kind of wish it was something along the lines of it doubles, like it can't function like this in the way that the rules are currently structured, but I wish Dervish doubled specific spells. Like I wish it doubled specifically the battery spells and awe or something like that.
Then you just have Warlock, and Warlock is the worst archetype.
Exactly. I think it would take a little bit more playing around with, but I do think Dervish gives you so much room. It doubles your greater release. It doubles your confidence. It doubles your awe and terror. It makes it so that you can have now like 5, or it has to be an even number. You can have like 6 break concentrations per life for 5 points of investment, counting Dervish.
Right, which is really strong. Like that many break Dervish.
It's really strong.
Having eaten that many break cons per life, like ouch.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the weird one. I think I'd have to double check this, so don't like crucify me in the comments, but I think Legend is the only archetype that only costs 1 point.
I know some of them don't. But yes, I know what you mean. It feels really weak. But it is very strong. I like it a lot. I think Legend is extremely cool. I think Legend is, how do I put this? It's just really good on a really big field. and it's extremely good on a really small field. Because if you're on a smaller field and you take legend, all of a sudden nobody's out of your casting range.
Right.
In my in my experience, Bard kind of works in caster Bard works in circle, where you have a circle around you that is 20 feet,
Right.
and if someone goes in that 20 feet bubble, they need something to make it so that they're not getting cast at, whether that's
Right.
another person or some kind of a meter.
Sure.
Now with extension, your circle is 50 feet for 50% of the time you're playing. And even if you're out of extension, because it's 2 per life now, even if you're out of extension, other people are now aware, if they're paying attention to your extensions and they know you're playing legend, other people are now aware that your circle is 50 feet. And it's really strange.
So I look at the meta magic archetypes.
Yeah.
You have battle mage, you have legend, and you have priest.
Yeah.
I really want to change priest and legend a little bit.
Yeah,
I
get
really
that.
would like if legend just gave unlimited extension.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
I think that'd be really cool.
That's kind of what I think it should be as well. But I think it should I think if anything, legend or
And then-
legend should probably be the one that takes away your armor or your gear.
I would also then just remove all the other meta magics. Like,
Yeah.
that would be the new add-on penalty.
Yeah.
Like, if you put that on battle mage, I think that would also nerf battle mage a little bit because they wouldn't have the swift anymore. Like, all three archetypes, I would say you get unlimited this meta magic at the cost of you don't get any other meta magics and also a secondary penalty. So like healer, I would give them unlimited swift, but you can't have any other meta magic, including innate. So
Yeah.
that
And
is an
really
actual
strong.
cost. And innate is really strong.
Yeah.
But I think that would make more interesting decisions. And legend,
I agree.
legend is
that's a way to build
basically,
this.
if legend was just like you get 2 more extensions, like okay, that's the same thing except for it's not, because you're like it takes a two extensions for 2 points and makes it 4 extensions for 3 points. Well, yes, a 25% discount, it does not stand on its own. Like if it was by legend, you get 2 extensions. That is still better than what it currently does. Because then you could say like maybe you need 3 extensions and not a 4th one. Well, now 2 points is 3. So your first purchase of extension is 2, and then you can get 2 more on top.
Yeah.
That would feel more relevant, but okay.
Extension is a very cool meta magic. If you take legend or you plan on taking legend at any point, like if you want legend to be your thing, you should do vocal warm-ups, just because you're going to have to yell really loud. I already do vocal warm-ups before every like Amp Guard park day that I go to, just to keep my voice, in check. Especially if you're playing legend, you're going to have to yell really, really loud in order to be heard from that far away all of the time.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yep.
So, circling out of the archetypes, I want to talk about if I've got a bard on my team, what can I do to help that bard have a good day? Because anytime a bard is on my team, I know I'm having a good time. But how can I really bolster that bard?
A really good thing to be able to do if you have a bard on your team, no matter what they're playing, check to see if they have confidence. If they do have confidence, keep that in your brain. Any bards out there, please have confidence. I think every bard list should probably have confidence on it. So if you check with your bard, hey, do you have confidence? And they tell you the right answer where they say, yeah, I have confidence. If you keep track of going back to them and saying, hey, I need this back, they'll love that. Active listening bard is really hard, because not only are you paying attention to what your opponents are doing, you're also paying attention to what your own team is doing. And any amount of workload you can take off of them for that is better. A perfect playing battery bard, especially, but any of the bards that take any of the recharging spells, is paying complete and knows exactly what's happening on both sides of the field, and that's really difficult. If you were able to tell them, hey, I need this back, then they will give it back to you. They want to give it back to you, they will give it back to you. Other than that, the other thing that you could do is, most of Bard's CC is command. If you help the Bard out and focusing on the people who are immune to command, it helps a lot. Bards are really capable of keeping all the command vulnerable classes at bay. Barbarian, anti-paladin, other bards that with Song of Determination, Lyco druids, all of that is like shortens what Bard is able to shortens that list of what Bard can do to them by a lot.
Right.
If you are playing something and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna help my Bard buddy, move those classes a little bit further up on your priorities, and those are the two biggest things. Tell your Bard friends what is used and if you would like it back, and stop the people who are immune to command.
All right. Is there an enchantment that Bard players want that out there? I mean, I know they need the enchantment slot for their songs, but is there something that's worth not having the songs to have?
If you're playing front, personally, I will always take armor enchantments. I'll even drop my songs for them. A lot of the time, all of my lists basically have songs in them. But if you give me an armor enchantment and I'm frontlining, that's great. If you give a backline bard either pro mage, protection from command, so extend immunities from paladins is really good. Extend immunities command is really good.
And that doesn't even take the enchantment slot.
Yeah, exactly. Extend immunities is probably my favorite one because you can still sing with it, and also you don't have to be in Song of Determination 100% of the time. But I think that Extend Immunities command applies to all of the casters.
It's ridiculously good right now.
It's really good. And then Enlightened Soul is also really good. Being able to not worry about getting suppressed when you don't have an alternative means that you're able to complete your goals a lot faster. And I don't know if you've ever tried to dispel somebody who has 5 break concentrations per life. It's not easy.
No, it is not.
It is not easy. You either already have to be immune to command, or you've got to figure something else out.
Right. Okay. What is Bard weak to as a class?
There's more to that question, but paladins are a huge problem. The only thing paladins or bards can do to paladins is stun and shove or beat them, like with a stick. But paladins can make themselves immune to shove and stun. So paladins are really good board breakers. Yeah, a baseline paladin and bard also doesn't have a way to dispel. So, baseline paladin can be really difficult for bards to deal with. To a bard who isn't paying attention to arrows like me, archers are really hard to deal with. Especially if it's really easy for that arrow flying through the air to get lost in the song. So
right.
Archers can be really stressful. And then everything else bard kind of has a tool for, but archers are big because your CC things, besides loss, don't do anything to them. If I awe an archer, they're like, what does that do? And I say, oh, you stay 20 feet away from me. They're like, I was going to do that anyway.
Say less. Let's go.
Terror and awe are more of a challenge to anyone with a bow than actual CC spells. Paladin and archer, or really anyone with a bow. Assassin can also be pretty tricky because they can dodge your CC really easily by going insubstantial. But the big two are archer and paladin.
Okay. How worried is a bard about dispel magic?
Not really. I've seen it used a couple of times, and it's a big laugh every time it happens. Like I'm singing a song, and I'm doing really cool stuff on the front line, dispelling that song. If you the notable thing is dispel does get rid of your Song of Interference, which is pretty big because it's the only one that doesn't come back. So a lot of the time you're not super afraid of dispel magic, but you should be aware of it. You should be aware of who can dish it out on the field at least. Mostly because it is a really cool play for the other team to dispel your song and now you're destroyed somehow. Your equipment's gone, or you're now instant killed, and you're like, oh, I was singing. It's like, oh no, you were dispelled, buddy.
Right. And that's usually the way I'll get them, is if I've got a bard that is being a problem, I'll dispel them, and there's a soft moment of like, it's unlimited, you know? And I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
but now you're vulnerable for however long it takes you to start that up again. And a lot of times
yeah,
that's enough time. And I feel like
yeah.
dispel into break con on a bard could be really good.
It is really good, and
Like,
it does knock them down for a little bit.
yeah, like just throwing them off their game just enough to take them out at that point.
Yeah, it
And
shifts your momentum. The big thing about Bard is that the reason I like Song of Determination so much is you are able to sustain your momentum for a really long time
mhm,
because the usual things that people come up to besides beating you is suppress you,
mhm.
and if you can't do that, then they backfoot and you get to momentum forward. Dispel magic you should be aware of because it has the potential of just putting a stop to that.
And then if they're in Song of Survival and they're fighting somebody, in their mind, they're like, even if I lose this fight, I can just pop out of this and fight them some more. But if they hear
Yeah.
that dispel magic going on as they're in that Song of Survival, suddenly the math is very different because they don't get two
Yeah.
tries. And I've
And
seen
it's really hard to think fast enough to be able to do that. As a bard, getting dispelled, it is really hard to have your brain move at a speed where you can comprehend that you've been dispelled and maintain your momentum when you had a
mhm,
pre-existing, an idea of how that fight was going to go.
yeah, okay. Before we move on, do you have anything else you want to talk? Do you want to show us that spreadsheet? Okay, this is cool.
All right. So please forgive me for my not incredible formatting, but generally the way that you can read this is there are 5 levels of general being it's generally a good idea, and situational being it's usually never a good idea, but there are situations, and this is actually protection.
Okay, so
So
everything we have
uh
here is
the
per life, correct?
so everything on this whole row is anything that is chargeable in any way.
Okay.
And then when we get down to the magic classes, it is all assuming experience. And then here is anything that is per life. And then if they're in both, it does go over both.
So
The
I'd love to just go
I
through
made
every class. Do you have time to go through everything today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. The primary thing that I would like to preface this with is that all of this is done from the perspective of that you are listening to your own team and they're not asking for these back. You hear it happen, and then you are going to run up to them and give them the relevant spell and clarify if need be. Obviously a lot of this stuff can change if somebody comes up to you, like if somebody's like out of poison and they don't know the charge in can't, then they might come up to you and be like, hey, can you give this back to me? Like that's a little different, but this is
Yeah.
all from the perspective of you're listening, you are like poised to give people back their own stuff, usually on an entirely battery list.
I got you.
We'll start here in Anti-Paladin. Anti-Paladin is a little bit better of a empower target than a confidence target. There are some classes that are way far in one direction, way far in the other. I have them kind of ranked here, although I wouldn't put too much credence into these. Most of their stuff is per life, meaning that Empower helps them a lot, and a lot of their charges are really low. The only one that I can conceivably see doing on a is if you do not have access to Empower, you do have access to like 1 point of confidence, and like just giving the anti-paladin confidence their brutal strike.
Brutal Strike
They
feels
can't.
bad though, because that's still a
Yeah,
per
well,
life.
it does feel really bad. The main reason why you might want to do it is because they cannot steal life anybody who they have brutal strike.
Okay.
So usually for an anti paladin, they have to make a decision on whether or not they're going to steal life or brutal strike that individual. And if they choose brutal strike, they can't recharge brutal strike without sitting through the charge times 10 or killing another person. So sometimes it's worth giving it back just to keep momentum up on the team. But
Okay. I got you.
Infernal. This is a really short charge timer for an enchantment that is as good as Flameblade. So it's pretty low, but somebody might ask you like on a hot day. And then Terror Machine Gun is always good. If you have an anti-paladin friend you can guarantee in some way that you're going to be on their team, highly recommend trying Terror Machine Gun. It is really fun.
Okay.
Archer has some cool stuff, specifically with Sniper. Reload is charge times 3, Mend is charge times 5, and you also have Mend. So it is not a great target. It can be a pretty good target for Empower, but you also have Mend.
Right.
Playing the Sniper specialty arrow game is pretty fun. Being able to sit behind a sniper and just like charge them whenever they need it. Now they have momentum, which is a little bit easier for them, so it makes your job a little bit more boring, where if they actually get a kill, you don't have anything to do besides maybe charge your confidence.
I feel like
But it
Song
is
of
pretty
Power
good.
is just better in that sniper
Song of
instance.
Power
Though.
is better in this situation a lot of the time because they only have to say it once.
Right, because you have to charge X10 to get your Empower back.
Yeah. To get yeah, it's
Or
charge
your
X5 for
confidence.
confidence.
That's still
Yeah.
1 for them for Sniper. So that
Yeah. And then Artificer is just kind of better off on its own. The main thing that it gets is a lot of mends, and you already have a lot of mends. They have ignoring that this mend is greater mend. This is only 2 points for you.
Yeah.
If you're playing Dirt. Assassin is a pretty good target for the per life ones. It is a really good target for restoration, assuming they're not already charging their stuff. A lot of this used to be green and is now very yellow because of the way that not spy works, that how trickery works, where they can basically be insubstantial all of the time. A lot of them are really good at charging their own stuff.
Right. Well, they have to
So
be
I
the
moved a lot of
spy
it
to
to
get
yellow.
that.
Yeah, exactly. I moved a lot of it to yellow so that it is a little bit like it is still useful, and you're still gonna get a pretty big smile if you make it so that they don't have to sit through the charging can't again. But all the stuff that can't be charged, really good.
I feel like Assassin is one of the premier classes for Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah, it is really good for Heart of the Swarm.
Because all the stuff that really gets rid of insubstantial without killing the assassin makes them go back to base. So if they come back to you and then you just high five empower them, now they can do it again.
Yeah,
and
it's
most
really
of those
nice.
people haven't charged back up their banishes probably.
Yeah. Barbarian doesn't have a lot. Rage is pretty good to get back, but if they're playing Berserker, they're gonna have their own rage back. You don't have to give it back. But if you hear a barbarian rage and they have to they fall back, just give it to them. And if you've got the confidence to spare, just go ahead and give it to them. They'll enjoy it. Bear strength, if it gets dispelled off of them, then it's good to give back. But you have to be on a really lean field for bear strength to be a really high dispel target.
I also feel like bear strength just is not very good in the current meta.
It's also per life, so they can just die and get it back.
They want their armor anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Monk is a really good restoration target and a pretty good target for everything else. In my experience, the actual difficulty with Monk is them knowing that they have the abilities in the first place and that they can be interacted with by a magic class. Specifically, Medium, giving back their Swift is really nice. A lot of the time, people who are playing Medium know how to use these spells and they have the Swift for a reason. Giving them back the stuff they can't charge is really helpful.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Paladin is very good. You do not have access to as a bard, you do not have access to a lot of healing spells, and Paladin has access to them in spades. Because they are per life and chargeable, you can give them back with whatever battery spell you chose to take, or whichever battery spells that you have access to right now. And like I said, if you're playing Dervish and Empower, everything that you give back is a quarter of a point. So if you have a Paladin friend, you have access to Greater Heal and Greater Resurrect for a quarter of a point each, which is really good.
Absolutely.
I have Imbue Shield here purely because if you're active listening and you hear your Paladin get dispelled, a lot of the time they're gonna fall back and then come to the realization of I have to play really recklessly so I can get my Imbue Shield back. Because their whole game plan a lot of the time was either pole rushing or blocking spell balls. Being able to you're okay, buddy. I've got you.
Yeah.
You can keep doing that. Is really good, and it also lets you trade a quarter of a point for Dispel, which is a really high value spell. Water is cool. It's on a really low charge, so they can get it back. You don't have to give them their martyr back. You can. I like to give it back if they take my suppression off. That is very cool because a lot of the time the best use I see for martyr a lot of the time is for paladins taking caster suppressions. And if you see that, being like, thanks, bud, here's your martyr back allows them to keep doing.
Okay. What about Sacred Blades? Because that's what the Inquisitor has. Is that
Yeah,
Sacred
Sacred
Blades?
Blades is pretty good. It's the same. It's in the same category. I think I have a typo here that it's Martyr again, but this is supposed to be Sacred Blade. It's in the same category of if it got dispelled, then give it back, but it's still pretty situational. Scouts are again another good restoration target. Giving them all their per lives back is really nice. But the biggest thing is, as a bard, you do not have access to dispel magic, but scouts do. So your confidences become dispel magics when you have a scout friend, which is very strong because that spell is really good.
The hardest part is finding a scout that knows dispel magic.
Exactly. But if you find one, and there's some really good scouts in my kingdom, so that's probably why this is so green. But if you have one, they're pretty good. The whole person is cool. It's just a cool spell that I wish Bard has, and I really like using it, and I really like using it through somebody else. So I have it this high up. And Mend and to a certain extent Sleight of Mind. Sleight of Mind scout stacks are really hard to come by in my experience. And you also get Sleight of Mind on your own spell list, so it's not that high of a priority, but know that you can give it back with Empower.
I would argue with
The
that
big
though,
thing,
because your Sleight of Mind is per
so again, your Sleight of Mind is per refresh, so
and
it
if
depends
they,
on. It requires a good amount of like team coordination.
yeah, I mean, if they are doing some sort of stack where they've got the Sleight of Mind on, that
Yeah,
is a really good thing to give back. Yeah, I know.
yeah,
You're right. That is yellow. That's very situational.
yeah. It requires 3 people to be in coordination a lot of the time because you'll need a druid / healer and a scout and yourself. Warrior is really good because you can get Shake It Off is a really good spell. They get it per life. It actually should be over here as well. Shake It Off is a really good spell. It's a good target for Empower. Ancestral Armor is a really, really good spell that you can give back with confidence. And a lot of warriors are winded because they're carrying around 20 point like 20 pounds of armor or whatever.
Right.
And making them not have to sit through the charge incant is just a courtesy that you should probably give to them. If you've got a warrior buddy and you've got your charge incant, go ahead, give them a pat on the back and just say, yeah, bud, get out there. And then Marauder is they get, so for Marauder, if you have a Marauder, you can probably just kind of black them out unless they ask for stuff, because their ancestral armor loses charge, so you can't confidence it back.
Oof.
Which is pretty rough. Now we're down here on the casters. I have confidence in this deep red here. There is a funny thing that you can do called that we do in my kingdom. It's called the Bard handshake, where you take 2 bards and you handshake, and then you say my power grants thee confidence, and then you both lose confidence because it doesn't work on itself. So, it's pretty funny, but you should never do it. It straight up doesn't work. And then with bards, a lot of the time what you're going to want to be giving them is the empower stuff. So a lot of the time frontline bards are really good targets for experienced confidence stuff. A lot of the time frontline bards will have one of these confidence. Song of Interference is one of these experienced. Song of Interference is already chargeable. And then Greater Release, Terror, and Suppress Aura are both chargeable, so you can just give them back, and that's pretty good. And then now, Break Concentration is also is givable with Empower, so you should probably do that if you have the opportunity. And I didn't move it over here, but it should be good. Yeah. Down on Druid, Heat Weapon is a really strong spell that personally I think is really chunky and cumbersome to be able to actually get out of your mouth. So it's kind of low for me generally. You have Mend, you don't have Heal, which is pretty cool that you have access to not infinite heals, but a lot of them. But getting a druid to sit still in the backline with you can be really hard unless they have a bow.
Right.
Similar to Terror Machine Gun, Icy Blast Machine Gun is really good, and you should do when you would like to do really cool stuff, and then probably don't do it for the rest of the day because it's not that fun.
Right. Like you and the druid had a great battle game, and hopefully the Paragon Circle sees you, but
and then everybody else was just standing around picking flowers in the outfield. Healer is very cool. Healer is my favorite target for battery stuff because they're always so grateful whenever you give them battery stuff back. They're not used to it a lot of the time, and Healer is the biggest reason that I say that everyone should take confidence, because a really nice healers are some of the nicest people a lot of the time in my experience. If they res you, being able to be like, thanks for that, you get it back is really nice. The coolest interaction is that innate is per life, so every point of empower you have is actually confidence for that healer.
That is really good.
It's very cool. And like there is there's like the cool healer tech of if you're getting rushed and you're gonna die, you can be like innate innate greater heal, innate circle of protection, and then die. But you can do that again just with a lot of empower.
And as we previously established, an empower is 1/4 of a point, so you can give them a lot.
Yeah, through a crazy daisy chain, you've made it so that you get 4 confidences per point. Yeah, per point, which is really good.
You guys are over here playing engine builder games while the rest of us are playing Stab Your Murder Bot.
Priest is cool because it makes everything targetable with confidence. Unfortunately, none of it's very good. Ambulant sucks on Priest. I have had like ambulance, like where they play ambulant whatever, they play ambulant healer, but ambulant is max 2 per refresh on healer. And it's really unfortunate. If they're begging at your feet, asking you to give them their ambulant back, they're probably doing something cool, and then, give it to them. But other than that, they probably don't have ambulant on their list in the first place.
Right.
And the Necromancer giving them their steal life back is cool.
Okay.
Wizard has pretty cool interaction. It basically has all the same interactions that the other classes have, with the exception being Ravenge is a very good spell. And being able to Ravenge machine gun a whole team can do really weird... If every player on the opposing team is fragile, they start playing in a really weird way, which can be really fun. And then the big one is Elemental Barrage is chargeable with Evoker, and every Evoker I've ever met, when you give them their confidence, they get so giddy, and like, we have some pretty notable evokers in our kingdom, and it's really fun being like, here you go, you did great out there.
Yeah. Well, and the nice thing about that is if they're in Elemental Barrage, that means they are down 1. You can just give them that one back. It doesn't undo the one they're in, so they can get back up to max while still holding on for more.
It lets them play a little bit more recklessly around greater release, which is
all right.
This is my my personal ranking for all of them, and then I have every class over here ranked sort of on a tier list system for how good they are for each of those effects. But again, this is all my personal opinion, and my this is all dependent on my own kingdom. Like, we have really good scouts in our kingdom. If you don't have very good scouts in your kingdom, or like at your park or whatever, maybe they're not the best targets.
Right. Would you mind terribly if I made a copy of this and posted it in the description of the video?
Yeah, absolutely. That is totally fine.
So this will be
feel free to
in the description of the video.
Whatever way you feel. I know another bard, Arrakis, in my kingdom has a very similar concept to this. He's been doing some really, really good Battery Bard stuff. Yeah, he has a very similar concept to it.
Cool. How does Battery Bard play differently on a local park versus a kingdom field?
So a lot of the time, at least in my experience, I'm a big talker. I talk to people all the time. I love talking about Amtgard, and I love helping people like experience Amtgard in the way that they want to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Battery Bard on a local field, you see those people way more often. You already know what those people's aspirations are if you're really close to them, and it means that it is the easiest place for you to practice that. Oh, I know, I'll use examples from my own part. I know Hodge is really, really rage happy. He really likes to use his rages, but he doesn't like Berserker because he wants to wear the armor.
Right.
Being able to know that, like, oh, I'm going to look out for Hodge to use his rage so that I can walk up and do that. That is all, and give it back with confidence. Like, that is all really cool interplay stuff that you can get from just talking to people at your park and noticing how they play. And everyone wants to talk about how they play in Amtgard. Everyone wants to talk about how cool they are at specific classes. If you get them to do that, you file that information under confidence and empower and restoration, you're going to be really good for it. On a kingdom field, that information is a lot harder to get over unless you're doing it over a really long period of time. And a lot of the time with kingdom fields, you only see those people every 3 months. So priorities change in that period of time. So it's a lot harder to kind of get that gauge. But the better you get at Battery Bard and the better you get at listening for your own stuff, and the more comfortable you get with like what you should be looking out for. It gets better, but it never gets to the peak of like park level battery and being kind of that linchpin of how much momentum you can get on a team. It's really cool.
So you're out there in the Kingdom of the Crystal Groves. Is there a like circle of paragons out there, or how do you guys decide on a new paragon?
We do have a circle of paragons. We have a circle of paragons for each class. And then for us, all of those circles are inside of their own little Discord. The
Cool.
Bard circle, I'm in two of the circles. I'm in the Barbarian circle and the Bard circle. No shade to the Barbarian circle. I love all those guys. I love every single one of them. The Bard circle pops off. It's really, really cool. We talk all the time about non-amp guard stuff as well as amp guard stuff. There's always a lot of really good theory, and I know a lot of the circles are like that. A lot of the Kingdom of the Crystal Grove circles are really active with each other, and there's a lot of really people on them.
Cool. What can a bard player do to really stand out to the circle of bards?
My biggest thing is communication. Generally, in my amp guard experience, my biggest thing on how to get noticed, either by a circle of paragons or battle masters or stuff like that, is always making yourself known and talking to your team like you were a member of that. Not talking to your team as if, you know, they're just the group of schmucks that you're communicate that you're on a team with, that you got assigned to.
Right.
Talking to your team like they are people who, like they are the people they are. You've known them for a long time if you've been playing Amtgard for a long time. Talking to them and communicating with them and expressing the information that you're taking in through your own eyes is the number one thing that I like seeing. I like seeing loud bards. I like seeing talkative people. That's what I really like seeing on a field. That's the biggest way that I notice people is when they are calling to their team, and when I hear their voice, I'm not just hearing spells, I'm hearing callouts, I'm hearing congratulations, I'm hearing like good honor, I'm hearing good plays. That's what I really like.
What advice would you give someone that's starting out as a level 1
If
bard?
you're starting on a level 1 bard, get firstly vocal warm-ups. You're going to talk a lot as a bard, and you should work on vocal warm-ups and your own diction. That is often the biggest confusion that I see from bards, and the biggest point of frustration is that they will mumble out something, not because they were trying to mumble it, but they have adrenaline pumping through their system, and they want to do really fun stuff. They know what it's going to look like. They mumble something out, and then nobody on the field actually understood what it was. Practicing that, the diction and practicing the breath control and speed and getting your vocal cords used to talking all of the time, that's the biggest thing that I would, anybody who's starting Bard and wants to be on that grind for Bard is one of the most fun classes to be on that grind for. And when you're on that grind on Bard, you're gonna be talking a lot, and taking care of your voice and being mindful of how your amp guard play is going to affect that is really important.
Can you give me the 30-second elevator pitch of why I should start playing Bard?
You should start playing Bard if you like having access to every spell in the game, and you like solving really intricate puzzles, either through mind or through might. You have access to both answers extremely easily. And you have access to every spell in the game as long as you're a really good talker.
Okay. All right. So, a couple of quick wrap-ups, and then I will turn you loose. What is your next Amtgard goal? What are you working on right now?
Right now, I have been working on Paladin and Anti-Paladin. I really like both of those classes, and I've been playing a lot of them. I recently just got my Battle Master, so I have been looking for new things to do. In the game, it's mostly been Paladin and Anti-Paladin, just learning those classes, getting everything that I can about them.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the game, I have also been working on designing for it. I've been working on an item system that I would love to talk to you about at some point, that I'm trying to get rolled out as to as many parts as will take it. That those have been my primary things. So Paladin and Anti-Paladin, and also, you know, working on designing for Amtgard and things like that.
Okay. Is it okay for people to come up and talk shop with you at events?
Absolutely. You don't even have to know my name. You can just walk up to me and start talking to me. I've never played Warrior. You can walk up to me, start talking about Warrior. I will sit down and I will listen to you. I love talking. I love talking about Amtgard, and I love listening to people talk about Amtgard. Amtgard is something, and Amtgard battle gaming is something that is so wide and has so many breadths of people that attract that. I love talking to people, and if you want to talk to me about Amtgard, talk to me about Amtgard. I love it.
Do you have any final advice for any of the little bardlings before we end the show here?
Just get out there and play it. To anybody who wants to play Bard or hasn't played Bard in a long time, sometimes you just gotta disconnect how well you've been performing from your how well you've been performing, how well you want to perform, trying to impress people. Bard really encourages you to be able to do that because you have such limited options and you want to throw sticks so often. Just do it and just have fun. Ability, something I didn't talk about, is that Battery Bard is the class that allows you to allow people to have the most fun
Mm.
in using their ability. And you should really embrace that. If you're a Battery Bard and if you want to engage with Amtgard in a way where you are allowing other people to have fun, please try Bard.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dax, for being on the show. I had so much fun talking to you at Gen Con, and I was so excited to bring you on the show, and you absolutely delivered. Your spreadsheet just perfect.
Thank you. I love talking about Amtgard, and I love talking about Bard.
Truly excellent stuff there. To all of our friends at home, thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe for more battle gaming content. Leave any questions you have down in the comment section. We always love answering them, and I will see you in the next video.